I have a few friends, Black female doctors, and they talk about the challenge of being a Black physician, the stereotypes they deal with on a daily basis. I have some people who tell me that most of the time they think they are the nurses.
Right. I think, now sometimes I can kind of look at some of these instances as being comical. And it's just like, I've had some situations where I'm like wearing my white coat. It says Dr. Denise Asafu-Adjei, and it's still a question of, who's my doctor, and it's just like, it's interesting to see that experience, happen across specialties, not just surgery, like a lot of my friends who experience the same things. And it's, I have to think to myself, my Caucasian colleague, like the first thought to my white male Caucasian colleague from someone else is not, are you the nurse? Are you the transporter, right? And it's just like, even though I know it's just tough, I think, especially being in New York City, the hospital I'm at, it's like, okay, fine, there are a lot of people of my, ethnic background, perhaps, who may be in those, those job roles, but it's like, we can also be doctors. And I think that sometimes I encounter even other people of color who are surprised that you are the physician. I don't just get it from, like Caucasian or, patients. It's like, you can kind of get it from everyone. I think the way that I kind of work against that is, I always make a point to introduce myself as Dr. I always say Dr. Denise, my last name. Sometimes I'm like, fine, I'll give you that. It may be a little long. But I always introduce myself as doctor, because I think it is important that you set that expectation and you set that standard immediately. We're not on a first name basis, not to be snooty or anything, but it's just like, you'd expect that from a physician. I think from a professional standpoint, that is one thing that I do to kind of maybe just set the bar a little bit. And when I do encounter instances of just frank bias or racism, quite frankly, you just have to face it, and really confront it. Not in a disrespectful manner, but just reiterate, no, I'm not a transporter, I'm your physician. And some people are kind of almost embarrassed when you make them confront their biases immediately. And obviously, if there's anything more egregious, you can kind of have the channels that you work with. I have a very, very supportive, department and team. So knock on wood, that's never been a major issue. But I've found that when I just kind of tell them up front what it is, it's usually been fine. So I think I don't see that ever going away.
You don't.
Even
that was my next question. What do you think? What is it going to take to to really overcome that and not just in the medical field, really everywhere. I've talked to a few women today and women that I know who in other industries who struggle with the same thing.
Right. I think that it's just also diversifying medicine. Currently we are like 6%, a very low percentage of physicians are African American, and even smaller percentage of that are African American males. That's a huge issue right now, having African American males in medicine. And I think people just need to see more of us in those roles to know that, we are representative of the U.S. population. The U.S. population is not only 4 to 3% African American, it's a lot, we're a lot more than that. And I think it's important that our healthcare system reflects the patients that we are serving. So I think that it kind of starts at the beginning, whether, in the pipeline, from high school, from college. Programs need to prioritize getting people of color in programs that prepare them to go to medical school. It's challenging, I'm not gonna, fight about that. But a lot of the problem is, people don't know the opportunities that are there. They are not in the right preparation pathway to get there. So people are very early on set up for failure. And so how are we going to see more of us at the end of the line when more of us are not even there at the beginning of the line to get there? So I think I'm a huge believer in pipeline programs. I've been a product of that from like elementary school. I was in these science programs. And so I always encourage, people to get their children, get involved early so that you are prepared to kind of go down that pathway.
Amazing.